Perfect. All right, so we are CSVMH Sustainable Consulting, and we're excited to present our recommendations for 320 Assiniboine and its deep energy retrofit to you today. So I'll give my team the opportunity to present themselves in the order that we're shown here. If you could just turn your cameras on and your mics on if you're able to, that would be appreciated.
So my name is Victoria Kiru. I have my bachelor's of applied science in chemical engineering from the University of Toronto, and I will be starting my master's in engineering at U of T in the fall.
Thanks, Victoria. My name is Mitchell Davidson. I have a diploma in architectural technology and a bachelor's degree in building science from Algonquin College in Ottawa, and a master's degree in building science from Toronto Metropolitan University.
Thanks. I'm Soham. I'm a Bachelor of Architecture graduate and currently a Master's of Management student from Schulich School of Business. I graduated in the fall this year.
Hello, everyone. My name is Caleb. I am a Master's of Architecture student at TMU, and I also obtained my Bachelor of Architectural Science at TMU. And I'm just going to continue my thesis right now.
I don't think Hope is here for our presentation. So Hope is a civil engineer, and he is currently getting his, he's currently continuing his education at Centennial. So next slide, please.
Thank you, everyone.
This is also Hope's slide, so but I worked with him on it, so I will continue along. So a significant deterioration has been observed at York U's Assiniboine residence. Our effort is to propose a solution in line with sustainable living. So we intend to improve the existing structure by taking into consideration the independent components that feed into the building. Our focus is going to be to uplift these components with trying to also make the overall output of a high performing structure with minimal cost, high safety standards, and best practice. And we're going to do this through an integrated design approach, focusing on net positive energy. Next slide, please. So our top two priorities, those are going to be the focus of our project, and that's going to be energy performance and the social benefits. Next slide.
Perfect. So the top two priorities broken down a little bit further would be energy performance involving building envelope performance, HVAC and domestic hot water, the appliances, daylighting and LED lighting, and the controls. And then for social benefits, it would be a community garden, recycling program, removal of carpeting, and improvement of acoustic assemblies. So as for the building performance, we have a bit of a laundry list here, but it really can be boiled down into, we recommend that Passive House guidelines are followed, and if not fully going for Passive House certification, just to show the commitment that York U has to this deep energy retrofit. But really, it would be looking into improving the building envelope performance by achieving at least our 30 plus walls, 60 roofs, 15 foundations, and high performance windows as well. And these are all in line with Passive House recommendations. And then through the presentation that we received from Alex and Josh this week, we have some ideas about some of the HVAC, domestic hot water appliances and controls that could be implemented. So we found that the ground source heat pump solution was likely going to be the most efficient and appropriate mechanical solution for the building. And that could be paired with maybe solar domestic hot water heaters to assist, and if need be, some electric boilers as well. In-suite ERVs could be installed into each of the suites in order to get fresh air intake and maintain that internal environment with MERV 8 filtration. And all of this will be controlled through a building automation system with in-suite controls so that people have the ability to regulate their temperature to their own comfort levels. This will be in addition to operable windows, since that's been shown to provide people with a greater range of comfort, just to give the sense of more control over their own environment again, but that would have to be paired with some sensors installed into the windows so that if their windows were to be opened, that it would limit the supply of conditioned air through the centralized systems. And again, just one of the topics that we had this morning was a discussion around compartmentalization and its importance to address the stack effect and indoor air quality. Really, a lot of these things, especially with airtight buildings, you're really dealing with a controlled interior environment. And so to give the most control to the occupants and their comfort levels, it's important to compartmentalize that so that the other occupants don't kind of influence their interior environment. And then for finally daylighting and artificial lighting, light shelves could be looked at to get more natural light deeper into the floor plate, and exterior shades for the summer months when we don't want to be accruing all of those solar heat gains. LED lighting just for their increased efficiency, paired with dimming switches so that people can adjust their lighting levels so that people who are more sensitive to intense lighting can feel more comfortable again. And those would be paired with daylight monitors so that if you're not using the dimming switches yourself, that they would be able to, the sensors would monitor outdoor daylight conditions and it would adjust the interior lighting accordingly to improve energy efficiency, but also just make use of more daylight when it's available. Yeah, more in-suite lighting fixtures as well, just since we've noted that there is a lack of actual dedicated lighting. People are buying a lot of their own lighting fixtures themselves, so that would just be an occupant improvement.
And along with building performance, we also recommend looking at the psychosocial aspects of sustainability. So some general recommendations that we believe would improve the social conditions of the residents are a recycling program if there isn't already one in place. For example, on campus, they have a student-led initiative for composting that could be integrated into the residents' community. The next would be the implementation of a community garden adjacent to the residents. So this could be run by the students, be a place to compost, expose young adults to growing their own food, and a gathering place just to get outside of their unit. Moving to the interior of the building, a strong suggestion we have is the removal of the carpeting. So students who don't have a vacuum or the ability to clean and maintain the carpet are exposed to dust and unpleasant odors. So the removal of the carpet would not only improve the air quality in the units, but also create a more fresh condition. Another strong suggestion would be to improve the acoustics of the demising walls between the units. So from what we've heard, the students, the noise transmission is really poor, and essentially you can hear to the other end of the building on each floor. So in social housing today, the standard STC rating is 50. So bringing the walls up to date would greatly improve privacy and a sense of refuge that one should feel in their unit. And this could be achieved by applying an additional layer of acoustic gypsum board to the existing demising wall assembly, nothing major. And last, we just want to emphasize prioritizing accessibility in this retrofit. So as we've heard from the great presentations, accessibility should be a fundamental priority in space making. So we ask that improvements to signage and the accessibilities of areas such as the location of kitchen cabinets, the bathrooms, the supplied furniture and the layout of them would be considered. Next slide.
So Mitch and Caleb, they spoke of the different points that we could implement in this retrofit project. So to put it in context, we feel that it is important to identify what are the low-hanging fruits and what could be done towards a longer term to actually make this a comprehensive success. So a bulk of it, which we feel are some social related upgrades, which can effectively improve the quality of life of the occupants, could be done towards more of the initial side, which includes intensity upgrades for lighting, such as adding more fixtures. And we could start with the north-facing apartments, improve accessibility for tenants, which we realize that not only people who are disabled, but even regular inhabitants could require extra accessibility measures. So for that, we really need to improve accessibility facilities. And we could also start with the community garden and improving the air quality by addition of the MER V8 filters and the recycling initiatives. Also, the heat pump dryers could be installed initially because they are only 6 to 8 units that we would require per Assiniboine building. So that we felt that these could be done as short-term projects which do not involve a huge amount of capital investment. Also on the medium run, we feel that the recladding could be initiated for one building. The carpet upgrades could be started by few floors per year. We may not have to do all floors together. We could have the lighting shelves implemented, horizontal for the regular windows and vertical ones for the corner windows, which we saw yesterday, which are kind of tucked in and could a vertical fin could really improve the light quality. ERV implementation, acoustic assemblies could also be a huge capital investment. So we thought that just for a primary privacy upgrade, we start with the doors, or like just to provide a primary acoustic quality upgrade. And then eventually we thought of Energy Star rated appliances, even at a longer run for refrigerators and stuffs. More towards the longer term, we feel that building automation system could be implemented. We can have smart thermostats integrated with this to kind of also analyze the occupancy, the consumption of energy by different units. A ground source heat pump system, as mentioned earlier by Mitch, we also thought of some sort of a collaboration or integration with Patsy Crescent, which is a townhouse colony right behind, which is also student housing. Window upgrades, which have been done pretty recently. So we feel that on a long run, at some point in the future, they could be upgraded with a more appropriate SHGC values. And even the electricity, even the district energy system could be electrified on the longer run. Next slide, please.
So I won't bore anyone too much with the further analysis, but this is obviously required. So further research is required in number one in terms of engineering principles. So you're going to need to start with the foundation and understand your heat and mass transfer, your thermodynamic principles and equations used to understand heating and cooling loads, R values. You're going to need to also work on building simulation and energy modeling. So those are just some different software that you can use as well. Throughout the project's lifespan, you're going to need to alter and work through a lot of different things. That's going to be cost analysis, so your CAPEX and your OPEX, your safety and risk analysis, which is really important. It's going to depend on what type of assessment you're looking to perform. You can do a HAZOP and risk matrix. You can do a bow tie method. You're going to need to also work on your life cycle analysis and your electricity budget, as well as always keeping in mind human factors. So the lower of the two pictures, from an engineering standpoint, it's great, but from an accessibility standpoint, it isn't. All the valves are the same colors. There's no tagging. There's no sensors or measures. Height-wise, I'm very short, so I wouldn't even be able to reach the top valves if I was working in this environment. So just also taking into consideration those things and understanding the accessibility needs of everyone who's going to be within the building. Next slide, please. So thank you. Now it's time for our Q&A.
So Victoria, I wanted to really thank you guys for considering not just the residents, but also those people who are going to continue to be working, day in, day out. That's fantastic to see. I do want to just note two things about the recommendations that you guys made. ASHRAE has come out and said that MERV 8 is pretty much a bare minimum. We do want to consider MERV 13 when we're thinking about filtration. It does have an energy impact. I am not the right person to talk about it, but I do know that number in my head. And and the hard flooring. Remember, any material that we put into the building, we want to make sure that it's not just healthy from a usability perspective. So absolutely hard flooring is the way to go, because you can just sweep it and mop it and it is clean. You don't need a vacuum cleaner, although those are helpful as well, but also to make sure that that flooring is specified so that it doesn't contribute to the VOC load of the building. And the other just comment that I wanted to make about the sound transmission, I think, and we only heard it this morning, it really struck me when Marianne and Lori were both commenting on this aspect that the tighter we make the whole building, the more important the transfer of noise and sound and thermal comfort and, all the air moving between the units is going to make a huge difference. So yes, definitely by improving the sound quality and improving the divisions between units and between rooms, you're going to make a big impact. So sorry, I didn't mean to jump in. I was just really excited about what you guys had to say. Jordan.
Oh, great presentation. I included, I sent a photograph over into the chat, but we actually do have a community garden. It's called the Malacca Garden. And I in the chat, I drew a circle around where the garden is and where 320 Assiniboine is. And the garden is a community garden for the community and the apartments and the residences. And it's supported by our ground department because they installed a large water tank there. And they bring water regularly so that the tenants can use it for water if they want to do a garden. So there's quite a few people that actually utilize it. We have had some problems there though with some vandalism, because I know our environmental studies department planted some rare trees and somebody went over there and stole them. So we're trying to install some equipment there, some phone or a camera, just to keep an eye on that space. But yeah, there is some space there. It's called the Malacca Garden and it's a community garden.
That's awesome. Really cool to hear. Sad to hear about the trees, but glad to hear we have a garden.
Yeah, and oh, Victoria, please.
And yes, me. Okay. I was just curious. Yeah, because we have two Victorias, right? And one's presenting. I was just curious about your thoughts on, like, you've got a short-term, mid-term, long-term, which allows for sort of like the cultural transformation as well. So I'm curious about your thoughts about how, you know, you socialize residents to adapting to new technology and the new environment, as well as, because you talked about those who actually have to work in the environment, facilities management.
Yeah, so maybe I'll let Victoria cover the facilities management portion, but I think that in terms of kind of assimilating new residents into the building, that's a really important point, and one that we maybe didn't cover in enough detail, but it's actually really important with a lot of these new high performance buildings to get the occupants involved in this effort to reduce our energy loads. So if there could be some kind of local, like in maybe the lobby spaces or things like that, with a dashboard that would represent the energy consumptions, or maybe by unit to show what your unit is consuming as compared to others, it really does have a great social impact when people are able to see how their energy consumption stacks up to others. And it's not a competition, but it does kind of strike that nerve in people where they become somewhat competitive when they see how they stack up to others. And so it really lends itself into everyone becoming more aware of their energy footprint and how they can improve to that. So how maybe you could comment as well on how, what your experience has been like going accustomed to the building, and how you think that other people can improve.
Not very directly in a sense of that, but I because a lot of tenants are here for let's say 2 years, so I don't know what is that kind of how we could integrate that, but I think your point is interesting on how we could really sort of be able to see other tenants' performance, and even for yourself to be able to evaluate what is the performance of the unit, and for York University for themselves to understand the per unit consumption, and what are the ways to really improve the energy consumption to make it more efficient. So yeah.
I guess I'll cover kind of the facilities management and things like that. So the university employs so many different types of people, and I work for U of T now, so I didn't even know how many people were employed by one university when I was a student. You're kind of like, oh, it's just a professor. And then there's like, no, there's professors, there's technicians, there's caretakers, there's so many people that are involved. So I think something that I found beneficial even in my role in working with people who are like of different age categories. So like I'm a technician and I'm 23, and there's another technician I work with and she's 60. So something that we kind of found was really leveled and really helped us were just those sessions where you get trained and you get trained together. So in that picture I had with the valves, they're all red and nothing's tagged. There's no automated sensor. So that would be hard for anybody to work into. But if you have a training day where you bring in, you know, those people, let's say once a month, that are going to be working with the equipment, or, you know, who are really maintaining it, and they can kind of give their feedback. Well, like, hey, did you maybe consider this? Personally, I love tagging. I can't find valves if I don't know the like valve number that you're talking about. You can hand someone an SOP and say, okay, now go find like 23 different valves on something. They're not going to know where it is unless there's tagged, or unless it's color coded, so they kind of understand it. Also makes it safer as well. So there is that aspect of training your employees in terms of safety, but also training them on what they're going to use and kind of integrating them in that process. Similar to what Mitch said, they're going to want to have those people who are more forward facing with that equipment and within the building to really get that training, to have them integrated from the start of the process to the end, because they'll give you good recommendations that you might not have even thought about. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, those are all great, thoughtful responses. Great, thanks.